Joining me now live is former FBI agent Colleen Rowley. Ms. Rowley, as we've been reporting, Russia apparently warned the FBI that one of the suspects was following radical Islam, but the FBI found nothing suspicious. How likely is it that the U.S. security forces missed these vital clues that could have prevented the Boston attacks?
Well, of course, I've written a piece called Chechen Terrorists and the Neocons, where I allude to part of the problem. But in fact, the lack of follow-up that the FBI has had is not unusual. The three other terrorist cases we've had in the United States, Abdul Muttalib, the underwear bomber, Shahzad, and even Major Hassan, were also, characterized by lack of investigation and follow-up, even when, for instance, in the underwear bomber, the father called up. So these tips, these very key tips, are going on uninvestigated. It is the case also of Moussaoui before 9/11, where I was the whistleblower about these failures. And we continue to see this play out over and over, where the real terrorist incidents are ignored, while the FBI puts enormous resources into profiling and, of course, even some cases subtly pressuring and trapping all kinds of other cases.
So why is this happening? Why this reaction? Why are they not taking some reports seriously, and then they take some suspicious seriously? How is this happening in a place where security is so tight, everybody's monitored, and if the key words like radicalism and bombs, or we're going to kill people, surely those are key words that the FBI should have picked up on. Either way, whether it's homegrown or anywhere else, they would have done the same thing elsewhere.
Well, there's two possible explanations here, and maybe both. One is what I was just talking to. There's this idea that when you're looking for a needle in the haystack, the answer is to put more hay. So they are collecting lots of data, massive data on innocent Americans. That's all part of this top secret America. And actually, it hurts the ability then to home in on the real critical pieces. And this, again, is what I just mentioned. The other potential explanation is that, this idea, terrorism is such a confusing concept because we have our terrorists and their terrorists. It's the definition is supposed to be acts of violence against civilians for political purposes. But you see this over and over where the U.S. considers that there are good rebels and good freedom fighters. At the very least, the separatists in other countries are not considered as terrorists. We have a whole establishment, neoconservative establishment in the U.S. now, heavily involved in propagandizing that there are good rebel groups. For instance, in Iran is the latest example of the Mujahideen cult that actually was on the U.S. terrorist list, but now have been delisted to become the good rebel fighters against Iran.
Okay, let me quickly ask you this then. After the revelation of the suspects came out that they were of Chechen origin, the U.S. media quickly shifted their focus to the armed groups in Chechnya, which they portrayed as the freedom fighters, but now as ferocious terrorists. How would you explain that?
Well,
are these the other terrorists?
Yes, and of course, my piece is how shocked I was watching Rudy Giuliani on a morning news show a couple of days ago, saying that he was so surprised that this had a link to Chechen groups, because in his case, his neocon buddies, including the former CIA director Woolsey, are part of a group that are helping and trying to legitimize the Chechens. And the reason they're doing this, as they did with the MEK, the same group, by the way, is for political reasons. And of course, this is maybe Giuliani is that ignorant, he doesn't even understand. But in the Moussaoui case, which was the only example of finding a terrorist suspect before 9/11, the real hang-up and problem in that case was because the FBI and other figures did not understand that the Chechen group was actually considered under FISA law for purposes of getting authorization to monitor. You need to show that the person is acting on behalf of a foreign power. which includes a terrorist group. And there was a lot of confusion as to whether Ibn Khattab at the time, Musawi there was intelligence he was working for, was actually a part of a FISA, legitimate FISA foreign power. So Giuliani was completely disingenuous, feigning surprise at this, because if he even had the slightest understanding of 9/11, he would know this.
Ms. Rowley, I've got little time with you, but I just want to quickly ask you, the group of congressmen now insists that the surviving suspect be denied a defense attorney and he should be declared an enemy combatant and shipped to Guantanamo. What do you make of that?
Well, it's very difficult to go against this horrible propaganda in the United States that draws wrong conclusions from acts. We're going to end up with thousands of cameras in public places. We're going to end up with the FBI doing even more of its ill-considered preemptive targeting and making these boasts that they can prevent, which is not true. It's actually the opposite. And in fact, we're also going to we're going to probably see terrible conclusions formed, and public safety exception, by the way, pre-existed 9/11. That we should have been able to interview in a very limited way without an attorney in order to prevent future deaths. The reason, when that was disregarded after 9/11, and actually for several years, it led the U.S. to overreact with the commissions and what Cheney and John Yoo did, which was take the U.S. to the dark side of torture and all of these extremely illegal actions.
Former FBI agent Colleen Rowley speaking to us live here on RT. Thank you.
Thank you.